Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week. It is 9 p.m. on a Saturday evening. That must mean we are joining the Mushroom Kingdom for some randomizer racing. We are looking forward to a wonderful stream tonight. And we are going to be doing a back-to-back like we did last week. We have a wonderful setup here. We have two seeds generated. Getting started here in just a moment. Wanted to go ahead and take just a moment to kind of explain what's going to be happening tonight, what you can be expecting. We have Ibuba in the top left corner. We have Mini Guy DP in the top right. Leslie Pro _04 in the bottom left, and of course Human Mustard in the bottom right. So we're going to be getting started here in just a moment. The runners are getting ready to go, and we will get this started here in just a moment. All right, the command has been issued. The runners are getting started here in just a moment. The flag set that we have for you all tonight with the back-to-back seed is that of the Group 2 flag set. And basically what that means is normally you would have end cards turned on, so you could play the end card matching game that comes with the SMB3 vanilla game, as well as the ability to break locks with the hammers that our runners will get. We'll come to that in just a little bit. We'll come back to that. I am your host this evening. My name is Growlwolf, and I will be providing commentating as best that I can throughout this. As we get started here, we're going to be seeing the first world. Take some guesses if you'd like to see what that is. And of course, we'll be playing that game as well. Also, I'd like to remind you that exclamation point C will show the commentator, which of course is me tonight. Exclamation point R will show the runners. We'll get those up there in the chat in just a moment, as well as the bingo. Do not forget to run your bingo command to get started and play along. While our runners go through this, we'll be announcing some of the levels and seeing if we can get some bingos in chat. So it looks like a little bit of divergence here. Leslie Pro taking his strat of going for a item right off the bat. He likes to stay prepared and be ready to go for anything. All four of the runners, of course, running through our fortress here as seen, and pretty much a pretty standard start for all four of our runners here. Now, of course, with this being a seed that's a double seed, I should say, a back-to-back, we are going to be doing a double header of the exact same flag set. And as I was explaining just a moment ago, we do have the Group 2 flag set, which normally has the end card as well as the hammers breaking locks, which as soon as our runners start getting those items, that'll come into play. And the other thing that is actually going to be setting this apart is that we're not allowing the end cards. So normally we do with the Group 2. But this time we've removed them. We said, you know what, it's just a little bit of a hassle, and it takes away from our players going fast. So we're going to allow them to start with this. Abuba having just a little bit of an issue here with his Forest Fortress, and he's going to have to go through it yet again, unfortunately. But we do have the other runners, of course, going through 3F2. Leslie Pro going for a third door strat there, wasn't able to make that. Human Mustard and Mini Guy, of course, both taking out 3F1. And they will be moving on to the Piranha to see what item it has for them before they'll be able to move on to Ludwig von Koopa's castle. It looks like a star for both of those players, so that'll come in handy a little bit later. Now, both of our players within 2 minutes, currently onto the World 7 airship, which actually is the World 5 airship. However, Ludwig von Koopa will still be waiting for them at the end. Now, of course, with all the other randomizers that we have, Ludwig von Koopa will, in fact, have a randomized hit amount that he has to have done. It could be anywhere from 1 through 5. And Earthquake is also randomized for any of the Koopling kids that you'll see. Abuba currently trying to catch up as he's able to finish off his Boom Boom here, and will be joining the other runners as quickly as possible. Of course, Leslie Pro now finishing up World Airship 5 to find a Ludwig von Koopa as well. As we get ready to go into the next, go ahead and take your guesses as to which world is next. With a World 7 start, I do believe World 2 is going to be next. I think we're going to the desert realm at this point. Leslie Pro able to get through the first world in less than 3 minutes. That is still fantastic. Ibuba trying to finish up as quickly as possible, getting a pipe clip there at the end. But Human Mustard showing exactly why you don't want to slide down World 1-5, as there are enemies of all different kinds down there. Fortunately for him, he did not lose a power-up there. Mini Guy opting to take a different route, and he finds our first lost level. So they will be going through just a little bit of a difference here, as it looks like Mini Guy is going to be going towards they're both going to be going for that first fortress, and then, of course, Leslie Pro going through 3-3 now. Got just a little bit of a variant here. It looks like Human Mustard now going back and taking on that lost level to try to get to the fortress as quickly as possible. And as we do have Human Mustard in front, we're going to go ahead and switch to his audio. That way we can kind of get a hold of what's going on here. Mini Guy, unfortunately, taking a death on 7-9. He'll have to start that level over. Decides he doesn't really want to do that, so he's going to go back and take on a World 5 level here. He's going to be going through and should be able to get through this here pretty quickly, just watching out for the Spinies. And now he'll be able to get through Human Mustard, opting to go through the flight route, which I think is a very wise decision. He'll be going through the long way with 7-9, but that's not a problem at all. These players are very good at getting through these levels very quickly. Leslie Pro now finding the World 1 Fortress, which happens to be 7F1, everybody's favorite Fort Knox, I should say, Bowser's Coin Stash Fortress. And this poor Boom Boom, who thought flying up in the air would be enough to keep him out, as he does have the pipe at the top of the hall. Unfortunately, that's not enough to deter our players from getting through it. Mini Guy and Leslie Pro both taking the route that gives them a tail, as they're going to need that to get to the top here. And it looks like Human Mustard is going to be right behind them as well. Now, the only difference at this point is Human Mustard, I do believe, played one of the levels at the bottom, and he actually came back for them. So that one is out of his route. But all 4 players currently on 7F1. So they're going to be getting through this as quickly as Boom Boom allows. Human Mustard already onto the fight with Boom Boom, as he did not have to go the long way around. He had to actually he had a tail already, so he was able to go directly to Boom Boom. He did not pass go. He did not collect $200. He is on his way. So now he's going to be meeting panel 5 here, while Leslie Pro and Mini Guy will both have to take the first panel that you see at the bottom there, right before the Boomerang Brother on Mini Guy's screen. Ibuba able to get up to the up to the pipe without any issue there. And Human Mustard currently making his way quickly through this. We won't have to deal with the Lakitu at all. And he is on through the grassy knolls of World 3-4. Mini Guy is finishing up his 1-5, and Leslie Pro currently starting the 3-4 level. Ibuba taking a damage boost to get through the 1-5, which looks like it might just play in his favor here. He was unable to get through as quickly as he was wanting to as a Paragoomba, had a little bit of an issue, gave him a little bit of an issue, I should say. Human Mustard currently on to the Larry Koopaline here. Looks like there's no earthquake for him, but he is going to be a 2-shot. And we are moving on to World 3. Chat, get your guesses in for which world you think is next. I'm going to stick with my original guess of World 2, as I still think that these runners need to go through the sandy level next. Both Mini Guy and Ibuba trying to get through the 3-4 level there, and currently got Leslie Pro making some nice ducks to get under the flamethrowers. He's going to be trying to get to Larry as quickly as possible. World 2 is next, and that is going to be an out of the way fortress, and that's only going to allow the runners to get to the pipes, which will not matter as they are pretty much dead end at this point. No skipping for them. Looks like we have just a little bit of separation at this point. Midi Guy and Leslie Bro just a few seconds behind each other. Abuba doing his absolute best to catch up. He is going to be able to take down the Larry with no issue at all and hopefully catch up as quickly as possible to our other runners in World 2. A little 3-6 action coming up for Human Mustard. He'll have to daftly get by these Flame Chops as they do not like to play nice. And he will be using the tail to his advantage to take a little bit of a slower fall in some of these places and should not have any issue at all getting through this as quickly as he can. Leslie Pro and Midi Guy currently working through 6F3, and they will be getting through here hopefully as quickly as possible. Midi Guy with a star there should be able to finish this up here in just a moment, as Leslie Pro is currently onto the fight with Boom Boom and doing his best to get through here as well. Ibuba using the P-Speed strats to get through here. Unable to get under the thwomp, though, so he'll have to wait just a little bit for him, but able to maintain the P-Speed strat for the rest of the level. Now he'll be waiting on the elevator to take him up to Boom Boom's room, and will be doing his best to keep the Boo and the Flamefoots at bay, and they will not bother him as he's able to finish off the rest of this. We have Human Mustard currently. Oh, unfortunate death for Human Mustard as he was breaking through the World 4 level, and that is going to cost him both his tail and it's going to cost him just a little bit of time. However, he said, you know what? I'm done messing around. I'm going to go ahead and take a P-Wing to this as he does not feel like dealing with the shenanigans of the Koopa Troopas again. So he's going to be getting through this one here real quick. Midi Guy finishing up his level, Ibuba trying to do the same. And meanwhile, Leslie Pro starting to take a little bit of a chance of catching up here. It looks like he's just behind Human Mustard. Opts to take a little bit of a detour as he wishes to load up with an item, and that is going to be the tail that you now see on his screen. Now, 7F2, everyone's favorite, the Piranha Disco Inferno. We are going to see a bloodbath potentially, as depending on how the piranhas can be on this level, can determine how easily some of our runners can get through it. And it looks like it's not an issue at all for the fast shooting of Human Mustard, as he's able to burn through some of these piranhas super quick. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro taking a little bit of a safer route with the tail. Unfortunately, does lose it to the vertical piranha there, and he will go for the fire flower as well. Almost a sync here as we have Midi Guy and Leslie Pro both utilizing the fire flower there for a moment. Midi Guy did just lose his, but he decides to take a small path through here as he's able to get through the two piranhas there really quickly. Now he's going to be hopefully redirecting some fireballs. He's able to get through that a little bit of a cluster of a mess, and now he's going to utilize the last power up to get through this. Meanwhile, Abuba currently working on getting through 7F2 as well. We've got a lot of very close races right now. And I would like to remind you that we currently do have a back-to-back going on. So this is the first of the two seeds we're going to be doing. There is going to be a period of time where as soon as the player enters the door that houses Peach, the player is then going to take a 60-second time to switch between the two games, and they're going to be moving on to the second ROM, and then their 60 seconds will be up, and they can hit, or as soon as their 60 seconds is up, they'll hit start to begin the next. So we'll have a dual feature for you tonight, and we really hope that you enjoy that. Our runners really enjoy playing too. They love this game. They love the randomizer. They love every bit about it. So they're going to be running a little bit extra for you tonight. We do enjoy having some very good content for you, so we hope you enjoy. Now, all three runners currently going through, trying to get through without the Lakitu getting to them. And meanwhile, Human Mustard on the Desert Raceway, just doing his absolute best to get through without any issues at all with the star, or with the sun that's chasing him. Excuse me. I suppose the sun is a star, but they're going to be getting through as quickly as possible. Human Mustard finishing up the last level, and he will, of course, be finding Morton Koopa Jr. at the very end of this airship as he's going to be going on and looking for World 4. So, chat, as we are currently on this airship, go ahead and get your guesses in as to what is next. I'm going to have to reiterate the guesses from Magashashin. I am so sorry if I mispronounce this. Magashi Sama, and Nash Crap. We're going to be I'm going to be making a guess for world number 4. I think that's where we're going next. Get a little bit of the giant world up in here and see what we've got next. So Human Mustard finishing up. Looks like MIDI Guy and Ibuba nearly in sync here, as they're both going to be trying to get through these flamethrowers without any damage at all. Ibuba going for the newly found clip through the wall there, which saves just a little bit of time, and really it keeps the runner from having to deal with any damage or anything. And Ibuba opting to take the star there, as he's going to be doing his best to get through here as quickly as possible. Nash making a guess for World 5. And it looks like Leslie Pro just a little bit behind now. Not exactly sure what happened there, but he is currently taking on Morton as well, and will be looking at a 2-shot as the others had as well. And now he is on his way to join the other runners on World 4. We do have a World 6 as these runners are going to be going through quickly. But World 6 is kind of one of those weird ones that can go one of two different ways. As Human Mustard is currently going through 4-3 here. What happens with World 6 is that not only do you have 2 places where you have to make a decision on which, actually I take it back, it's actually 3 places where you take either the top or the bottom route to get through. But it can be extremely long based on the patterns of the pipes and whether or not the runners decide to use a hammer to break the lock that's currently next to the blue toad house in the top right corner of the player screens when they first arrive. So a couple of guesses here. If the runners believe that there is a pipe that will take them a little bit further on, even if it does have the rock in place, so long as they have a hammer, which all of our runners should have at this point, they are going to have to, or they're going to have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to play the rock and take their chances with a pipe that will lead them forward, or if they want to go ahead and save that, as the hammers do break locks in the seat. Nosy Pro having just a little bit of a problem with a mimic block there, but he'll be able to finish up this level no problem at all. Doing his best not to get a fanfare. Unfortunately, the cutback was not there, and he ended up taking a fanfare. So that'll be an extra 5 lives, which not necessarily needed at this point. It really just wastes about 6 seconds of our runner's time. It looks like Human Mustard currently working on the Fortress, which is actually the Air Force. So he'll be going through Boom Boom here in just a moment. And that is the first fortress of 6F, or of 6, World 6, I should say. MIDI Guy currently going through some Flame Brothers and having just a little bit of an issue with that, but he does get the star and does not take the last damage, which would, of course, be a problem for him. Ibuba finding out just a little bit of information before he takes on the fortress here. Opts to use a P-Wing on the Hammer Brothers. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Might have selected the wrong item. That does happen as these runners are trying to go as fast as possible. We see our next lost level on Human Mustard's screen, as he is currently going through the waterfalls, which is pretty indicative of the vertical nature of both 7-1 and 7-6. If you go inside the door and don't clip through it, as our runners most likely will if they see it. But Ibuba and MIDI Guy both working on Air Force here, trying to get through here as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, it looks like Human Mustard is actually finding the end of World 6, so he'll be getting through here pretty quickly, as he is going to be taking on Lemmy at the end of this. We got a little bit of 8F1 action here. So, unfortunate death for Human Mustard, unable to continue through that with a tail, so he is going to have to readdress, Okay, interesting. He decided to take a P-Wing and ended up finding 1-4. So he did not exactly find, I think, what he was looking for necessarily here. A P-Wing through World 8F1, or World 8-1, I should say. It would have been a little bit better, as you're able to fly over and get a little bit of speed going on for that. But a little bit of an unfortunate turn of events there for him. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro currently going through the exact same level. As you probably have noticed, the 1-4 here is not an auto scroller, and we have turned those off because we have one rule and one rule only, and that is you gotta go fast. Getting a little love for Buba in the chat right now. Keep it up. Our runners are certainly appreciative of your cheering, of your support. They love to put on this race for you all. I know they do. They talk about it throughout the week. It's a wonderful event. We are talking about just the different events that we have coming up. This is one that we definitely enjoy. We also have a tournament coming up in a couple weeks that's going to be a lot of fun, and this is kind of the practice for it. So we hope you all enjoy it. We do. We really truly do appreciate this. Show you love to the runners. If you go visit their page, go ahead and give them a follow, give them a shout out. They do love the support. They really truly do. We're going to be moving on to World 5. Take your guesses if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and say I think World 5 is, in fact, World 5. And we haven't seen the Sky World yet. That's always a fun one. It could be anywhere from absolutely atrocious to pretty convenient. So, a little bit of a quick sync up here. We have Mini Guy, Ibuba, and Leslie Pro all finishing up the World 4 airship, which we saw Human Mustard do just a moment ago. So his lead here has actually dwindled just a little bit as he's only about a level away at this point. This, of course, being a hand level. We find out that the Tanuki suit is going to be the item of reward for each of the hand levels. We see Leslie Pro entering World 5, which is Vanilla 3, first. And he'll be finding out here quickly that the Tanuki is allowed as or is the item that you are rewarded with at the end of the hand levels as well. Meanwhile, Human Mustard doing his best to get through here as quickly as possible without the Big Boss Bass, decides to go ahead and take out the Big Boss Bass right away. Now, what's interesting about the Big Boss Bass is that he is a nuisance for sure, but if he is killed in the top part of the map and then you go to the bottom, he will actually respawn at the bottom of the screen, which at Leslie Pro it looks like will be doing as well. Oh, he allowed him to respawn, and now he's going to go ahead and have him respawn back up at the top with him. Now, the specifics for that, the reason that these runners do that is that they do have to drop down in a pipe, which we're going to see here in just a moment on Leslie Pro's screen. And he is going to have to go down the pipe, and without having Big Boss Bass at the bottom, he's not going to have to worry about getting gulped at the bottom there. So that's a smart move on our runner's parts. It looks like everybody virtually is going to be doing this, except for Midi Guy, who does not have the flowers the others have. That's not an issue at all. He is pretty much synced up exactly with Ibuba at this moment, and he won't have to worry about Big Boss Bass at the bottom as he's already at the top. So no harm, no foul here as our runners continue on. Leslie Pro currently going through the 2-1 level here that you see, and Human Mustard working on 6-1. So we got a lot of beginnings of worlds here. He's going to be getting through here as quickly as possible. We are entering our 21st minute here in just a moment of this first race. Again, this is a double header. So this is not going to be the only seed that you get to watch tonight. We are running a back-to-back, both of the Group 2 no in card. So we are going to have all the randomization settings, no warp whistles, hammers break locks, and no end card. So no extra items for our runners. Unfortunate death for Midi Guy DP. He was being chased by a Big Boss Bass, and instead of seeing what was coming up, he was too worried about what was behind him, ended up taking a Paragoomba to the face. An unfortunate side effect of being in a race with Big Boss Bass is you don't always see what's coming up next. Mini Guy having to replay 2-1, but not that big of an issue. It's a pretty quick level for the most part. You can get some pretty good P-speed strats going here. Leslie Pro finding our next lost level. This one indicative of 1-5, as you do have the tunnel here. And a couple more prawners than is in the original game, but of course they are no problem for a fire flower. Human Mustard opting to find another hammer bro there, which ended up producing an actual hammer. So now he is going to be able to utilize said hammer on the lock before Wendy's Castle, and he's going to be getting out of Wendy's Castle as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Midi Guy doing his best to catch up with a 6-1. He is going to take a Fire Flower. That's pretty much the preferred item for the majority of our runners up until the very end, where they will most likely switch over to Hammer Brother suit to take on Bowser, as that is the quickest way to dispatch Bowser in the World 8 fortress, or airship, I should say. Except it's not really an airship. I guess the castle. Bowser's castle at the end. That's what we'll go with. Bowser's lair. Anyway. So now Ibuba, currently putting the Hammer Bros to sleep, said, you know what, I'm not interested in dealing with these guys right now, so he is actually going to have to find out the hard way, I think, that one of them has a Hammer Brother, or has a hammer. A Hammer Brother has a hammer. That's not confusing. Now he'll have to play this first one. This Hammer Brother actually is a Hammer Brother, and he's rewarded with a star. We'll see if he goes ahead and plays the other one. World 5 now up for Human Mustard. And he is going to be finding 5-1 at the beginning of this as well, actually. So we have a Fred level for all of you in chat. If you're playing bingo, if you have a Fred level, this is it. Midi Guy currently working through the same Boomerang Brother, or Sledge Brothers in this case, as Ibuba is, and they are both welcomed and greeted with a hammer. So they're going to be utilizing that most likely to their advantage, as it's a lot less levels that have to be played to get to Wendy. Leslie Pro, meanwhile, joining Human Mustard in World 6, as we saw before, is actually Vanilla 5. He'll be going on with that here in just a moment as well. Both of our runners having to go through the tower eventually, and Human Mustard making incredibly short work of that. He says, tower, no problem. And he will be avoiding that fire snake quite deftly and will be able to get out of here as quickly as he got into here. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro, currently going through 4-1 with the tail, is able to take just a little bit of a glide down to kind of avoid the chain chomps there, which is always a plus. Midi Guy opting to go for a fire kill on Wendy. He does find out that it is an earthquaking Wendy, and no problem at all for a fire kill, as 10 fire shots still take down a Wendy. Ibuba, of course, finishing up just moments before Midi Guy here, and he is going to be going through as quickly as possible. Human Mustard with a tail is going to be able to get through this one quite quickly, and will be moving on from this World 6 level. Hopefully soon. He does have to go back now, as he lost the tail, but no issue at all. He is still our current leader on the restream, and will be getting through this just as soon as he can get another tail. Ibuba making short work of this 4-1, and he will be moving on to the tower just shortly after getting through this. Currently, Leslie Pro on his way through the tower, and Human Mustard still trying to get up to the top of this level, as this is not an easy one for anyone. He is finding out that there was a fire snake at the top waiting for him. Thankfully, was able to get around him, and now he is through this. No issue at all. Tower coming up for two of our runners. Now, there is also, and this is quite interesting, 2 fortresses on the bottom. Therefore, if either of them are required, which it looks like there is one that's going to be required, there's also one up top. Currently, Human Mustard having to make the decision of, do I play this level? And it looks like the in Linus, Lot's level has just shown up on Human Mustard's screen. He was taking a moment there, and this is actually a really interesting point for our runners. Human Mustard was trying to make the decision, which all of our runners will. As you can see on Ibuba's screen, he's currently trying to figure out what he wants to do. 2 of the 3 fortresses are not required. Therefore, World 1 Fortress could potentially be a thing. Leslie Pro finding out what all of our runners need to know, and that is that the fortress up top does in fact break the lock. You are not going to have to use a hammer if you play that fortress. Now, what's going to be interesting here is the runners are actually running out of worlds in which they can use their hammers. So it is a possibility that some of our runners may go ahead and use the hammer they just got in World 3 to go ahead and bypass the need for a fort. I believe the majority of the runners, if not all, actually had a hammer from before that, and World 3 was the second one that they got. Abuba opting to take another level. I think realizing his mistake, he is going to go ahead and opt out for an early exit. And we'll go ahead and move on to panel 5 here in just a maybe. Okay, I apologize. Abuba going back into the World 3 level and will be beating it quickly for some reason. We'll come back to that. We'll see what's going on here. Meanwhile, Human Mustard having a little bit of issue with a fire chomp on one. My mind just blanked. I apologize. On 1-6, he is going to be getting through that here pretty quickly and was able to take no further damage. Midi guy currently trying to cheese out some of the flame snakes, see if he can get them to disappear before he makes the trek up top. He will actually be able to do that and will be moving through this as well. Leslie Pro doing his best to catch back up. And with Human Mustard not taking on the fortress, he is now going to have to play through this airship and utilize the hammer before to get into it. So that is a little interesting, but not unheard of. They are going to be running out of chances to use that hammer, and that is not the worst decision he can do. So he'll be taking on Roy currently, and we'll be getting through this in just a moment. It looks like a 3-shot so far. 4. It looks like, okay, it's only 4. I thought it was going to be 5 there for a moment. Either way, still a lot of hits, but regardless, he is still down. Midi guy currently working through tanks. That I believe was the fortress that will in fact break the lock in front of the castle. So we'll have to see if those hammers will come in handy a little bit later in World 8. We'll see what happens. We'll come back to that, obviously. This is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. That lock can potentially play a factor if there is a lock in Bowser's castle. It's not unheard of, but there is the possibility of either a bridge needing to be built or a lock in front of Bowser's castle. So that could still come into play, but we'll have to wait and see. 2 forts for World 4, as we see Human Mustard currently getting started. Goes ahead and despawns the dry bones as he can land on top of you, inflicting damage at the very beginning, and of course nobody wants that, and nobody has time for that. Midi guy now having to go through the dreaded Atlantis and will be working his way through, as we see Ibuba currently in the middle of it, unfortunately unable to bypass those golden cheeps as he was being cornered by a separating bloober. He'll go ahead and jump out of the water and take just a little bit of reprieve before having to jump back into those icy waters here in just a moment on the other side of this island. Meanwhile, Midi guy going through the same part, doing his best not to take damage. He is successful in doing so. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro taking an unfortunate death there, had just a little bit of an issue with that flame chomp, as most players do at that time. You're kind of held to the speed of the game by that lift, and the flame chomp doesn't mind that at all. So he'll be replaying 1-6, but still definitely has a second place pretty secured at this point. But this game obviously is not over yet. There's also the possibility of routing issues. There's the possibility of a gamble going bad if a hammer is or is not used or even gained. So it's anybody's game at this point still. Stay tuned for sure. Human Mustard utilizing the Peace Beat strats to get through the World 2 Fortress, which is always a good idea. It lessens the damage that our runners take and lessens the chance for damage. So very well played there as always. That is going to do it for both of the fortresses in World 4. He's going to be going through the other pipe as he doesn't know exactly where that comes out yet. And he will be getting much closer to the castle when he gets through the pipe. I have done that countless times where I go through the wrong pipe because I've gone through it 3 times and I can't remember which one's which. It happens. It happens all the time. We do have a coin ship. Human Mustard is going to be going through that here pretty quickly. He'll be done with this in just a moment, as 2 shots for the Boomerang Brothers below is all it takes to get through this, and he'll be rewarded with a music box. Not going to be a whole lot of good here. Looks like Mini Guy currently going through, trying to get through this Hammer Brother as quickly as possible, as he'll be taking on the Castle of Roy here in just a moment. Leslie Pro finishing up will be joining Human Mustard in World 7 as soon as he is leaving. Iggy waiting in the wings for our runners. It looks like it's going to be a 3 shot, 4 shot. Oh, a full 5 shot, and it actually goes down by Flame right before the last jump. A couple of couplings have been very long for some of our runners today, so this is interesting to see for sure. Midi guy just finishing up Roy. Ibuba figuring out where he needs to go next. He does see that first lock, knows that he has to play at least A for it. He will be despawning that dry bones as well, as our other runners have done up to this point. They are both getting through. Let me see if I get this correct. Elsa's frozen. Yeah, I already got it wrong. Frozen Palace of Isolation, I guess. But anywho, so Leslie Pro saying I have the high ground here, takes a fire kill out on Boom Boom, and he's going to be moving on. 5F2 coming up for Human Mustard here. No Jesus Clip here, of course, as that doesn't help us at all and really just gets in the way in case something goes sour. So Human Mustard utilizing the P-Speed strats, he is through here, no problem at all. Has just a little bit of a problem with a pipe with a lid on it, but he is able to get through that pretty quickly. Midi guy taking the below route as he uses the tail to get through there pretty quickly, utilizes the tail, uses the power block to get an extra item, which is a tail, and he'll be moving through Elsa's palace as quickly as possible. Ibuba and Leslie Pro both pretty close in sync right now as they're both looking at the item in the block. Not exactly sure why Leslie Pro was going there. Might have been going for a star, I believe. And he's going to be getting through here, not using the P-Speed strats. He'll be going through just a little bit slower, and he'll have to wait for the third cycle. Meanwhile, Ibuba currently able to finish and take care of this. Elsa is my favorite Superman as well. I think she would fit in nicely with the Fortress of Solitude. I mean, she could have been the architect. We never know. We don't know what the timeline is like, so you never know. Could be the thing. But anywho, we have Mini Guy currently working through the Fortress of World 2. He'll be getting through with a tail, and will be flying to avoid the dry bones. Hopefully, doesn't lose the P speed before he lands. Unfortunately, does lose the tail there, but that's quite all right as he is through and on to Boom Boom. Ibuba and Leslie Pro currently taking on Iggy. Leslie Pro finishing him off as Ibuba is getting started here. Human Mustard currently on his way through World 8, doing a little bit of reconnaissance, trying to see where he can find Bowser at. And we'll have to see exactly where he is and what is required to take on Bowser. Chat, go ahead and get your guesses in for the minigame of figuring out where or how many bridges does Bowser have. I'm going to go with 2. I believe it's going to take 2 bridges to get through to Bowser. I am thinking that's a pretty good guess here. And, we have a 7-5. We'll see if there's anything fun here. Looks like it's going to be an Angry Sun. That's always a great way to get started. Human Mustard say, you know what? I'm not exactly interested. I'll find another way through. Decides to take a P-Wing here, and we'll be going through with the P-Wing, which will make it just a little bit easier on him, as he won't have to play a couple of the levels here. Ibuba and Leslie Pro both on the Fortress of World 5, the second one that you would find there. And they are going to be getting through Boom Boom as quickly as they get in. Looks like we've got a guess for no bridges, for 1 bridge, and for 2 bridge. I believe there's a possibility of up to, I want to say 3, but I have heard 4 as well. I've never seen 4. I think the only way that's possible if there's one behind the runner as they get into Bowser's Valley, I guess. Human Mustard not wanting to take a flower there does actually get the star, so he will not have any fanfare. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro currently trying to get through this fortress really quick. Bowser's Lift Emporium, and he will do so. Ibuba right behind him, looking for a fight with the ever-coveted Boom Boom, and Midi Guy currently going through the Navy, which he will make short work of, and is onto his fight with Boom Boom. That is absolutely correct. There are zero bridges in Bowser's Castle, and now Human Mustard on his way through, finding Bowser as quickly as possible. He'll be going through a couple clips here, see if he can get there and go for the fire kill in just a moment. Lozzie Pro now going through the Navy as well. MIDI guy finding his way to Bowser's Castle first. He will utilize the Tanuki suit he has. Not first, I apologize. He found it second. Human Mustard taking a clip there to go ahead and find Bowser and go through the fire kill as quickly as possible. Ibuba7 on his way through as well. He takes a fire flower to the party, and he will be meeting up with Bowser here in just moments. The first Bowser has fallen. That is at the hands of Human Mustard. He will be the first place finisher of the first seed, but let's be honest, who cares? We still have another seed to go, and we will be pulling that up here in just moments. In about 10 seconds, we're going to have Human Mustard switching over, which he will do so now, and his next game will start in approximately 60 seconds from now. So he is currently in between seats. He'll be getting that started here in just a moment. MIDI guy having a little bit of a trouble here with the fireballs and is thankful that there's no laser there. He did take the bottom route. I had just a little bit of a trouble with that, but he is going to take on Bowser just the same. Ibuba taking second after the first seed, which is excellent. He really moving along here fast, and he's going to be joining Human Mustard in the second seed here quickly as well. Chat, as we are getting loaded into the second one, go ahead and get your guesses as to what you think the first world is. Oh, unfortunate invisible fireball for Leslie Pro there. Thankfully having the mushroom, so it wasn't that much of a catastrophic issue there for him, but he will be taking on Bowser as Small Mario, and of course exploiting the fact that Bowser has no hitbox on the bottom. Unfortunate death for Leslie Pro. That is rough. I am speaking from experience when I know that that is the absolute most gutting feeling you can have. Absolutely terrible. I feel for him. Been there, done that. It is a bad time in every sense of the word. Unfortunate start for World 2 as World 7 is the or Seed 2 as World 7 is the first world that our runners come to yet again. A fortress begins the World 7 seed for them, so no promises that that is a required field or not. We will find out maybe eventually. Actually, we will. Looks like it's going to be a quick World 7, though. It's 40 seconds, or not 40 seconds, I apologize. Some of the runners do not reset their timers in between the seeds, and you'll see Human Mustard. His will be accumulation of the two seeds combined, and he'll be doing that all in one shot, as Ibuba7 has actually opted to go ahead and reset his timer after the 60 seconds. So there is just a little bit of a variance on the timers, but as you can see between the seconds of Ibuba's and the seconds of Human Mustard, there is no really big difference between the two. The only difference, of course, is the minutes at this point. Our runners are still on the same pace. They are still on the same path. They are still on the same seeds. We have verified all of that. And of course, we'll be watching the world as well, which obviously will be the same as all the runners have verified in the background. So Leslie Pro finishing up just after the 41-minute mark. An unfortunate death at the Bowser Castle. Unfortunately, that does happen at times. He'll be joining our runners here in just a minute with the next seed that we will be seeing. MIDI Guy, of course, on to World 7 as well. He is looking for that World 3 or the third island, and he has found it. So he's going to be going through the World 2 as well. World 2-3, I do, or yeah, World 2-3 had to do a little bit of a memory jog there. Unfortunate death for MIDI Guy DP, which is part of the occupational hazards. So he'll be going through this again, seeing if he can get an item out of this. Leslie Pro getting ready to load up into the next seed here in about the next 20 seconds. And get your guesses in for the next world. We had World 7. I'm going to go for the reverse seed, and I think World 6 is going to be next this time. Midi guy making his way definitely through the World 2-3. It looks like he is playing just a little bit safe, trying to get that shell, and he will be able to get that chucked in and on his way. Ibuba currently going through the World 6 airship as he is on his way to fight Ludwig von Kulpa. And of course, he will, in fact, be doing so. And we are about to see what World 2 is as Leslie Pro is getting started here and looking forward to finding out what the other runners have already figured out. Leslie Pro opting to go ahead and ignore the fortress completely. He said, you know what? I have no idea if it's required yet. I'm not playing it until I figure it out. He will, of course, have to backtrack all the way to the beginning to find the fortress that was, in fact, needed. Human Mustard trying to get P speed built up here, having just a little bit of a problem with that. He is going to take just another moment, see if he can go ahead and fly and just go ahead and ignore it altogether. Unfortunately, that's not going to be a possibility. He is going to have to contend with a Flame Chomp yet again, which is unfortunate, but much unfortunately necessary. Leslie Pro currently going through the wrong fortress. Unfortunate for not playing the first one. He is going to have to go back and wait for the elevator before finding out that this is the incorrect fortress. Unfortunately, he will be having to play another fortress as well before he can move on. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. Midi Guy now making his way to World 6, where he is going to be meeting up with Human Mustard and be chasing him down, of course. Human Mustard going for the 7-1 clip, see if he can get through this level relatively quickly, as it is a great chance to save some time, provided you can get it pretty quickly. They've said it's a 18-minute or 18 times you can try it before it no longer saves time. And unfortunately, the 18 seconds does not stop or start anything, or 18 times, I should say. Doesn't start or stop anything, so you're still losing time, even if it does take longer than that, because then you have to make the decision of, do I still try to go through, or do I still go ahead and try going through the clip? And the majority of our runners will continue to try to clip it, as it is a good time save, and it's a little bit of an easier way to get through the level, of course, without taking any damage. So we'll come back to that here in just a moment. Mini Guy currently on his way through 7F2, as it has been required both seeds so far. Ivyba trying to make a decision on where he wants to go. Looks like he's going to go ahead and push on forward and finds the Pyramid of World 2. It takes an unfortunate damage there, but he will get a power-up. Unfortunately, it's a star, though. No mushroom like he was looking for. Leslie Pro currently going through 2-3 here and is on his way through. Human Mustard's still working on 7-1. At some point, you're going to have to just think, hey, maybe I should just go ahead and get started on something else. But go ahead, and he decides to go ahead and keep on going and see if he can get the clip here. Meanwhile, Midi Guy doing his best to catch up to where Human Mustard currently is, and he's going to be going through 1-6 here. Able to get around the Flame Chomp with no issue at all, and he is going to be flying through to the end of the rest of the level. Abiba currently still working on the pyramid, had a little bit of an issue before, so he's now back and restarting that. And we have Leslie Pro with an unfortunate death on the Piranhas. That does happen, as those little guys do like to get you. Midi Guy currently working on 5-1, and he'll be going through the Chain Chomp Paradise here as he glides to the bottom of the stage. And Human Mustard finally able to get through 7-1 and is moving on to figure out what some of our other runners already know. So we are going to go back and see where the fortresses are. At this point, it's a little hard to tell who's in first, just because of all the movement and everything else that's going on right now. Leslie Pro, unfortunately, still not able to figure out exactly what he wants. He's starting to rethink his strategy, as he is currently sitting at 1 life, and that starts to get any runner a little bit rattled and unraveled. Human Mustard realizing that there is a fortress behind him. Not exactly sure what he wants to do yet. He may be thinking to go ahead and utilize a hammer, and we'll have to play that into an effect here. Mini Guy realizing that there is a second force, and we find Bowser's Corin Horde, the World 7F1 Fort Knox. So mini guy going to go ahead and take the path through. He will just be just be going to get a Tanuki suit as that is needed to finish this level. Meanwhile, Abuba finishing up his level and is moving on as well. Leslie Pro currently going through the World 6 airship. He is going to be taking on Ludwig at the end of this. And Human Mustard Chill still trying to figure out what he wants to do here. He has not been able to be successful in his breaking of the lock. So he's actually going to go back and take on Fort Knox as well, which we currently see Midi Guy DP doing. Meanwhile, Abuba currently going through World 2. Excuse me, World 2 Fortress or World 2 Level 2. There we go. It's in there somewhere. Midi Guy going ahead and taking on some Hammer Brothers there to see what he can find. He gets a star for that. And meanwhile, Abuba currently having to figure out which way he wants to go. Finds Atlantis, so he's going to take an early out. He'll take a 100 coin fine to get out of here and move on to the other route. I do believe we have now just seen a leadership change here. We'll go ahead and get the audio moved over. Ibuba not having any luck at all as he is having to go through one or the other auto scroller. So I guess at this point, pick your poison. What an interesting place to be. Leslie Pro currently doing his best to get caught up here, which makes some nice decisions, and you're going to be back into this thing, I think. World 6 has been a little bit of a catastrophe for some of our runners here, as Human Mustard has been taking a long time trying to get through this. We'll see what happens here. He's currently being chased down by a big boss bass. He'll be able to despawn that with a trip down into the secret item cave here. He'll be grabbing a mushroom for his efforts, and we'll be moving on. Meanwhile, Midi Guy DP just trying not to take any more damage here, and of course not taking any gulps. He is able to get down to the item cove as well. He'll be finding the mushroom that we just saw Human Mustard get. An unfortunate death for Leslie Pro as he's unable to get through underneath the thwomp quick enough. He decides he does not want to play that again, decides to see if he can press his luck and not have to play 7F2. I think he'll be okay with that decision. Unfortunate death for Leslie Pro there, and he will in fact have to game over and start again. No levels being beat there means that that's not as big of a concern as it could be. And thankfully, the fortresses do not restart if you do game over. They do stay down. You beat Boom Boom. He is not coming back this time, and those do stay down. So Ibuba are first through World 6. Chat, go ahead and get your guesses in as to what you think the next level is. The next world, I should say. I think we're going to be going into... Let's go for the full reverse seed. I think we're going to be going with World 5 next, and Human Mustard finding Atlantis, unfortunately in a backwards order from what Ibuba found him in, and he said, you know what, I know that 5-9 is actually a little bit quicker, so instead of playing through Atlantis, he goes ahead and takes an early exit, and then decides to go ahead and restart 5-9. Midi Guy finding out, of course, what the other runners have figured out, and that is that these are both auto-scrollers. You are punished, and you cannot go on until you beat an auto-scroller or utilize the cloud, which I don't believe any of our runners have seen yet. So now Human Mustard and Midi Guy both on their way through World 5-9, just a little bit of separation between the two. And of course, we do have World 5 as World 3. Getting a little bit of love for Midi in the chat. We again want to remind you to go ahead and show these runners some love. They put a great show on every single week. It is a wonderful opportunity for our runners to kind of show off what they've been doing, what we've been doing in the community. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of races. There's a lot of things that go into this, and they love putting on a great show for you all. Go ahead and show your love to them. Go ahead and give them a follow. Show them some love in their chats. They do appreciate it. They really, really, truly do. This is one of the highlights of our week, I think, as much as it is for anybody else's. So hopefully you enjoy it as much as we do. Human Mustard and Midi Guy both able to dispatch Limmy super quick as he's a one-shot wonder, and they are on their way to World 5, just as Ibuba is. And there is not a required fortress here, except that it's in the route. There is no going back and finding it. There's only getting through it as quickly as possible, and that, of course, being 3F1. Ibuba going ahead and taking the 6th door, does not want to risk any issue, and wants to go ahead and just go ahead and get through without even going for a door 3 attempt. I can't say I blame him. I've never actually made it myself, so I can't say that I fault him at all for that. Leslie Pro taking some fanfare there. He gets the star fireworks, which of course we love to see, but it is about a 6-second time runoff. But, it looks good. It feels good. Human Mustard and Mini Guy pretty well synced at this point. They are both currently going through the desert motorway, and they will be finishing this off as quickly as possible. Ibuba onto the World 3's airship, which is actually World 7's airship, and he's going to be taking on Roy, the boy Coupling, at the end of this. So Ibuba currently in the lead by a pretty good margin. He will be getting through here pretty quickly, and we'll be getting rid of Roy as quickly as he got in. That was a little bit, I believe that was a 4-shot Roy, and that's the thing that happens. Mini Guy and Human Mustard both opting there, or getting through 4-2 as quickly as they can, and Mini Guy opting to take a quick change there to get a Fire Flower, and he'll be using that to get rid of the Cheeps to clear his way through the rest of the level. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro opting to use the hammer there, and decides to go ahead and spin that and see if he can get a little bit ahead without having to go through the fortresses again. Midi Guy finding the cheap hand level, which of course is going to be producing a leaf to both of these runners, as we just saw on Ibuba's screen a few moments ago. Ibuba working through 1-2, one of the first levels that you'll play when you come into vanilla. Not necessarily true for our runners here in the randomizer. We do like to shake things up a little bit. That's what we like to do. Midi Guy taking a break to go ahead and finish off a Boomerang Brother to grab his item here. World 3 is next, so we don't exactly get the reverse world order, but it was pretty close. We had 7, 6, 5, and now 3. I'm going to be going to 4-2 in just a moment. Ibuba having indecision on the mind, as he can't figure out where he wants to go. He says, you know what? Fine. I'll go ahead and play it, and I'm going to see where this fort takes me. So he has had his way through a couple of levels here to get through and see what the pipe has for him at the end of this. Meanwhile, Human Mustard taking on World 7 airship to find Roy, the big boy, and moving on to the next level. Ibuba taking a death there on the beta level that is reminiscent of 1-6, and of course he will be finishing this off with a tail now. He said, you know what, I'm not dealing with this again. I'll just use a slow fall if I have to. Leslie Pro currently going through 5-9 still. A little bit of a tough level, especially a small Mario. It's a tricky place to be, as that Fire Chomp not only likes to throw fireballs at you and hovers around where you are, but he also likes to chase after you and explode at the end, trying to take you down with him. Very unfortunate and very rude, if I might add. Human Mustard and Midi Guy both taking on Roy, and will be finishing him off to be joining Ibuba in World 3. Ibuba currently working through his level, taking a slow fall there, doing his best to not have any issue at all. It looks like he'll be getting through 4-4 here pretty quickly. And he does. He's able to bypass those bullet bills and is able to finish off the level in nice fashion. He does take the cutback, so he doesn't have to worry about the fanfare. Looks like a Hammer Bro was the item there from the Princess Peach, and that is going to come in handy, as our runners will likely use that for their fight with Bowser at the end. Leslie Pro now making his way to World 3, which of course was World 5. Hopefully we'll be able to get through that here pretty quick. Ibuba figuring out the pipe that he was looking for. We'll see if that takes him where he wants to go. Unfortunately, it does not. Now he's going to have to figure out the fortress here. both Human Mustard and Mini Guy taking the exact same path as Ibuba has, and he will have to figure out what he wants to do about this Hammer Bro. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro on the desert highway, as he is trying to get through without a sunburn. Human Mustard and Mini Guy working on the 1-6 beta level here as well. Meanwhile, Ibuba trying to figure out, okay, which fortress do I possibly have to play, and how on earth do I get to that pipe? Of course, we'll need to figure out that pipe at the bottom, as that's the one that does take you to Windy. Meanwhile, Ibuba is deciding to go ahead and play around the levels that he was just in, and I think that's probably a pretty wise decision, as the two fortresses there are actually easier to get to, I think, from this other direction, now that he has already beat those 3 levels. Both Mini Guy and Human Mustard trying to get through the World 4 Bullet Bill level, and they will be able to do that here just in moments. As mentioned in chat by Krista Joy, it brings up a very valid point. The Hammer Bro is absolutely wonderful. It is a big thing for our runners, because any kind of clipping, anything that can get them through World 8's castle quicker is obviously what we're going to be going for. We have the one rule, and that, of course, is got to go fast. Even though Ibuba is about a probably 4 level ahead at this point, that doesn't matter when it comes down to World 8. And actually, I'd say it's probably less than that. We're looking at about a 1 to maybe 2 level difference at this point between Ibuba and Midi Guy and Human Mustard. So Ibuba just ahead a little bit, but as soon as some of the players figure out a little bit more as to what they're doing here, they're going to be joining up quickly with Ibuba. So all I'm trying to say here is it's not over until it's over. World 8 is the great equalizer for sure. World 1, 2, and 4 can be pretty quick. Not really a whole lot that can change between them, unless, of course, there's hammers that are given to the runners that others didn't get. But with these runners, they do know their strategies. They know how to get through these really quickly, and they're going to be figuring it out pretty fast at this point. Human Mustard having just a little bit of confusion here, has to figure out where the next pipe is, and it looks like he has in fact found it. So he'll be going through that here in just a moment, as well as he has figured out that 2-5 is necessary to get to the pipe that we're looking for. Meanwhile, Ibuba currently going through the World 8 fortress, and will be trying to get through this as quickly as he can. Midi Guy now on to 2-5 as well. He's about halfway through as he's finishing off this level, albeit a little slowly, as the tail doesn't exactly allow for him to go very fast. With the P-strats, it gets a little strange, but either way, Ibuba going for the second cycle, opts to take the item here, and will be utilizing a Fire Flower at the end with Boom Boom. Meanwhile, Midi Guy taking on some Fire Bros, which went down with a hitbox, it looked like. And Human Mustard on to World 3 Windy. He's looking for Windy here at the end of this, and is going for a P-speed strat here. Looks like he's going to be able to get it, and will be taking some damage there, as he's unable to get through without any further damage. But now is, of course, on to Windy as well. Ibuba on World 4 already, and he's going to be looking for... I apologize. I got that backwards. Ibuba is still looking for the fortress that will get him through. We now have a leadership change again. We have Human Mustard in the lead by seconds over Midi Guy, who is going to be taking the jump route through Windy. He is now through Windy as well. It looked like we had a full hamburger meal with Windy this time. And we are on our way to World 5, which I believe is going to be World 4. We have those out of order, and we are in for a race here, folks. Going to go ahead and switch the music on over, as well as the audio is in fact coming from Human Mustard this time, as he is our new leader, and he is given a magic wing for getting through that. We are in fact onto World 4, and this is still anybody's game. Ibuba has now taken on all the fortresses. There is nothing left. He is going to have to take on Windy at this time, and he will be able to do so. Meanwhile, Midi Guy on his way through World 4, just as Human Mustard is, and Leslie Pro currently finishing up World 1, 2 at this time. A very close race indeed. We have quite a few great runners here. We have a very good race so far The runners super close. I mean, Midi Guy and Human Mustard currently on the same fortress here. 5F2 and Ibubo right behind them. I apologize, not 5F2, 5F1. And just what a great race so far. Leslie Pro deciding not to take the same route the other runners have thus far. He is trying to figure out what he wants to do. It looks like he's going to take the left side. This might be a chance for Leslie Pro to catch up a little bit, especially if he's able to find the fortress and the correct pipe pretty quickly. And I think he is going to see about doing that here if he can. 5-3 coming up for Human Mustard, which of course will be what Midi Guy goes to next, as the fortress they just played in 5F1 is not the correct one. So they're going to have to turn around and see if they can find another fortress. Muzzy Pro, of course, going on to the next part of World 3, which is going to be a fortress of his own. Meanwhile, Ibuba trying to dispatch some of these Fire Bros, which, of course, is nobody's favorite. Midi Guy finishing up 5-3 with a Fire Flower. Nothing's going to stand in his way as he finishes off this level with quite finesse and with some speed as well. Ibuba currently working on getting through the 5F1 as well, and he's going to utilize a P-Wing to do so. He'll be able to get through that here in just a moment. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro currently going through the World 8 Fortress that we just saw Ibuba do a few moments ago. This should be the fortress that he needs. He may be able to catch up here quite immensely with this World 3 strategy that he is currently in the process of. A great point by Krista once again. Midi and Mustard opted to use a hammer on the gate, which is a good point. We are doing hammers breaking locks, and that was a chance for them to have to be able to go forward without having to play extra levels. We'll see if that bites them later on. It is a possibility as our runners only get a certain amount of hammers throughout the seed. It seems like it's always too little or too many, and unfortunately, they're not always used. But that is quite all right. That is part of playing the randomizer. So still anybody's race at this point. Currently, we have Human Mustard's audio going as he appears to be in the lead at this point. Unfortunately, it is not a safe bet as World 2 and 1 are still coming. And with hammers breaking locks, it could be anybody's game as to if the lock is necessary or if the rock will actually get you further on into World 2 than you utilizing the pipes or anything else within the world. So definitely interesting to see what happens next. Human Mustard taking a little bit of a damage boost. He gets a star this time, and we'll be able to finish off Boom Boom as soon as he runs into the room. That is an insta-kill on Boom Boom, and he is now through the level, and he's on his way to the castle. He won't have to play anything more in World 4. Not that there's a whole lot left to play, but he is going to be getting through here in just a moment. And, of course, followed closely behind is Mini Guy DP. Now, Ibuba doing his best to get caught up as he has just a little bit of separating them now, but he does have the hammer as well that we saw earlier used by both Human Mustard and Mini Guy. So we'll see if that comes into play. This is going to be interesting. Anyone's game for sure. This is exciting. Leslie Pro currently working through 3F1 or 3F2, excuse me. He's currently going through 3F2 and has a Fire Flower, so he'll be dispatching Boom Boom in the fastest possible way here, as he does not have a Hammer Brother suit. But that is quite all right, not an issue at all for our runner, and he is on his way through. Meanwhile, Human Mustard taking on Iggy, an Earthquakey Iggy who does not want to go down easy. But that is no trouble at all for Human Mustard. He is on to World, I think, 2. I think we're going to see the Desert World next. And except for 3 and 4, I think it's going to be a reverse world orbit. But we'll see. Of course, that's 7, 6, 4. I'm sorry, 7, 6, 5, 3, 4. And we'll see what happens next. Midi Guy taking a P-Speed strat. He'll be able to burn through this level here in just the next couple seconds. And now he is on to his fight with Iggy, the Earthquaking Menace. 2 shots so far, 3. It seemed like it took quite a few, and it is going to be a 4-shot Iggy. Now, Human Mustard figuring out he does not have the hammer that he was looking for, but he is going to go ahead and utilize O'Tail because he had a sneaking suspicion that World 1 Fortress was next, and he was absolutely correct. So he'll go ahead and play the extra item, he'll go ahead and utilize that. And he will be getting through here pretty quickly, but we'll still have to play another level, as that, of course, does not take out the extra level, but the extra cloud being utilized there, and he'll go ahead and get through here as quickly as he can. So the hammer not really seeming to slow him down all that much. However, Midi Guy finding 7-6, which was skipped just a moment ago by Human Mustard, he'll be going through a clip here, as is seen on 7-1 typically as well. And hopefully we'll be able to get through here pretty quickly. Don't want to see a lot of time getting lost here, which could be saved for another level, as Human Mustard will end up having to do. With, of course, World 2 being left, there is not a whole lot of chances for clouds to be used at this point. World 8 has some, but just not a whole lot of places to use that. Midi Guy taking on the clip, so he does save just a little bit of time there from playing through the whole level, and he'll be moving on as well. He'll be taking on the Fortress 7, or World 1's Fortress here in just a moment, which he may go ahead and opt to play, as that will be one less level that he has to play. Goes ahead and finds a flower in the first item box. He'll see if he gets a tail here. He does. He is going to go ahead and opt to take on the... Oh, okay. Unfortunate damage there, but he is going to go ahead and have to play, which I think is a smart idea regardless, because that now means he does not have to play the next level here as well. So kind of a fortunate side effect of taking damage and losing the tail there is that he will play Boom Boom. He does not get the extra item, which was a star, but he will be able to skip a level now by doing that. Ibuba much quicker on the clip that he got there, about 14 seconds of in-game time, saved from what Midi Guy had just done a moment ago. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro now joining on World 4, which is actually World 5, and he is going to be catching up as quickly as possible. Human Mustard evacuating World 6 pretty quickly at this point. World 1 did not take long for him to get through. He did skip 2 of the levels that were required, and is now on to World 2, which will be the last world before World 8, which of course is always at the end of every randomizer. Ibuba currently working on getting through World 1 Fortress here in just a moment. And he will be burning through the fortress and taking on Boom Boom as well. Leslie Pro currently working through 5F1 and will be getting through here pretty quickly. He's trying his best to save his flower. That is not going to happen, but he will get a star to finish off this level, hopefully. Ibuba finding the exact same thing out that Midi Guy just did, whereby beating that, he is actually able to get through it a lot quicker, and he will be taking on the Fire Bro before taking on Iggy's Castle. Right now, a very close race between Midi Guy and Ibuba, as they're both going to be entering the castle just seconds apart from each other. Human Mustard now working his way through. He does get the H jump, and unfortunately, that block did nothing to an invincible Gooba and Koopa Troopa, I should say. A little bit of lag there, and that's an unfortunate thing for Human Mustard, as he actually lost his Fire Flower out of that. So at this point, the lock is actually going to be in play here. I think we could see another change of leader here in just a few minutes, as Ibuba is going to be catching up on World 2. And while Human Mustard now has to play through World 2 Fortress and has to go the long way around, as the pipes are going to be dead. They are not going to be used at all through this, as they do not matter. They do not skip any levels. They are not going to make a difference at all. Human Mustard finishing up World 2 Fortress here in just moments, and both Midi Guy and Ibuba getting into World 7 here in just a moment. So they're going to be finishing up here right behind Human Mustard, but keep your eyes on both Ibuba and Human Mustard, as they're going to have to really equalize this. And because Human Mustard does not have that hammer, Ibuba still does. He's going to be able to utilize the rock on the hammer on the rock, and is there going to be able to skip a couple of levels here? So anybody's game at this point, absolutely. And then, of course, we do still have World 8 left. This is coming down to the wire. Who would have thought that with a full 16 worlds that we play through, that it's going to come down to just a level difference, if that. Leslie Pro currently making his way through World 5 as well, and Midi Guy figuring out the Fred Fortress of of World 2 Fortress. It's in the place that you would usually find it in the vanilla game. Ibuba now trying his best to get through the H jump is not successful in that, but he is going to go ahead and use the Fire Flower to his advantage to take care of the big boys that are blocking his way. And he's through here now as well. Midi Guy working on World 2 Fortress, as we see Human Mustard working on his World 4 level, and he's able to get through here. No problemo. Leslie Pro currently on his way through the fortress, trying for a quick dispatch of Boom Boom. He is able to take him down super quick. Yeah, we went ahead and we went big. We went bold. We went with 2 seeds. Yes, it is definitely confusing for those of you that are tuning in. No, we do not have a 32-minute advantage for Ibuba. He played the first seed and then went ahead and restarted his timer so that he was starting over with a new time. Midi Guy, Human Mustard, and Leslie Pro actually set up their splits to be 2 playthroughs, and we have played 2 seeds up to this point. Or I should say this is the second seed that they've played. And of course, it's a cumulative, so we award no prizes for the winner, but we do award, or of the first seed, I should say. There was nothing exceptional about the first runner to get through the first one. It's all about what you can do in 2. And currently, Ibuba, the one to look like he's about to upset the flow, as he is on his way through World 2 as quickly as he can be. And now Human Mustard onto World 1 airship, as he's going to be taking on Morton Cuba Jr. here in just a moment. And Ibuba looks like he's going to be right behind him. Oh, it does not opt to take the hammer here at this point. I am kind of interested to see how this goes. I was expecting Ibuba to use the hammer, which we have not seen. I don't believe. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. If you would like to do this, you are more than welcome to. But I thought Ibuba still had a hammer, which we have not seen. Had he used it on the rock, he could have bypassed a couple, I believe, 3 levels and been on to the castle a lot quicker. But we have not actually seen that. Midi Guy taking the advice of Krista Joy and utilizing the cloud to go ahead and get through and get onto the castle as quickly as possible. Leslie Pro finding 7-6, going to go ahead and take an early exit. He'll be utilizing that item here in just a moment to get through here as quickly as possible. Ibuba utilizing a P-Wing to get through 1-4 and is able to do that very quickly. Leslie Pro not taking any chances with the clip. He is using the P-Wing strat to go ahead and go up over the level and is now through 7-6 as quickly as he got into it. So that's excellent. Ibuba now able to get onto World 1's airship as well, and he is on his way through. He'll be finding Roy at the end of this, or I'm sorry, the other one, Morton, the 2 big boys. I sometimes get them confused. Roy is red, and Morton is not. So therefore, he is going through Morton at this point and takes a little bit of damage there before getting the last hit on. And we do have 1 bridge required to get to Bowser's Castle. Now, this game is not over yet. Human Mustard still does have to find the correct fortress, but he has an extremely good head start at this point. Does find the lava early on that level, and he is going to have to go back through it. He's able to make the second jump, no big deal. So this World 6 Fortress is not going to be much of a big deal for much longer, as he is able to burn through this in blazing speeds. Midi Guy on his way through 5F2 here, and Ibuba about to find the exact same thing as we just saw in Midi Guy's. At this point, we don't know which fortress will build the bridge in front of Bowser's Castle, and that is the thing to figure out before you can take on the Big Koopa. Which, of course, we will, because that is the entire point, and that is not the bridge that builds it. So Human Mustard's still on the quest to figure out which one is correct, and he did find that Air Force was, in fact, opened up by doing that, and he is on to 6F2 as well. He'll go ahead and take a damage boost through there. Did not feel like waiting for it, and he will be taking a break here just to get through. Doesn't want to take too much damage, as there are other things that could possibly happen. But before he gets to the end of this level, nothing else does. He is able to stay as Mushroom Mario. Abuba figuring out the bridge that is required. So he'll be going through the exact same way that Human Mustard and ultimately Midi Guy have as well. Midi Guy utilizing, I believe, a hammer there to get onto the Air Force, which of course is the 6F2, which is going to put him probably just as far ahead as Human Mustard. I think the only difference, of course, here is that he has no information as far as what's required, but it doesn't matter because that is, in fact, the required fortress, and that is going to be what takes us to Bowser and then, of course, to the princess shortly after, barring any unfortunate side effects of getting through Bowser's castle. It looks like Human Mustard is going to be our very first finisher of both of the seeds. MIDI guy, of course, figuring out exactly what Human Mustard did. He's going to be able to get through here a little bit quicker, and that is going to be the end of Bowser for both Human Mustard and for MIDI guy Deep. Ibuba currently going through the bottom route of 6F2. He's able to do so very nicely. That is not easy to do, believe me. I've tried it. It's hard. It makes you not happy with it, but it is worth a try. It is a lot of fun, and it's very gratifying once you get it. That is going to be, of course, the end of Bowser. Get your GGs out for Human Mustard, as that was a fantastic run for our runners. And that, of course, is going to be the GGs for MIDI Guy as well. We'll get him up here in the chat in just. We are now switching over to Ibuba's audio. We will be getting a interview here with MIDI Guy hopefully here in just a moment. The official times for the runners that you have seen on stream is Human Mustard at a time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, 6 seconds, and shortly behind by a whole difference of 30 seconds exactly is Midi Guy DP in second place with a time of 1 hour, 18 minutes, 36 seconds. GG's to our runners. Less than a minute later was 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 27 seconds for Ibuba. And then, of course, Leslie Pro will be coming up here in just a few moments. Well played to all the runners, chat. Go ahead and give them another GG. What a wonderful seed. What a wonderful couple of seeds that we've seen tonight. And for it to all come down to a big difference of 30 seconds, I mean, wow. GG to MIDI Guy, who has just joined me in the booth. Well played.
GG, oh, that was a lot of fun, and man, a lot of worlds threw a lot at us that time. Like those were two pretty dang long seeds.
They were indeed. You all did a fantastic job. Had a lot of variety, had a lot of routing differences, but ultimately very well run by everyone.
Dang. How about that double auto scroller choice? Like auto scroller 1 or auto scroller 2. Take your pick. Doing one of them.
I may maniacally laughing internally there because I watched as I believe it was Human Mustard, or I guess Ibuba, I think, was in the lead at that point. A lot of lead changes this time. I will mention that. It was definitely a lot of lead changes. But we saw Atlantis come up, and that was an early exit. Then we saw 5-9 come up, and then all three players actually chose to do that. Both you and Ibuba picked Atlantis first, and then went back and found 5-9, and then, of course, finished that one. Human Mustard did it backwards. He found 5-9, then Atlantis, then went ahead and took the early out and went back and figured out 5-9 there at that point.
Yeah, gotcha there. And speaking of Atlantis on the first seed, too, there was one part in the World 5 on the first seed where I felt like the World 5 on the first seed was like, it was an evil world in a way, because there was a part, I saw two fortresses right there, and no bridge, and the only way to get to those fortresses was, like, through the clouds afterwards. So I was telling myself, if the lock's right in front of the castle, I'm so glad I had my hammer. And of course it was. And then I get to Atlantis on the way. I was like, but I see a hammer bro ahead. I was like, maybe I could skip it. Maybe I could get lucky with that hammer bro. So I went to another level and purposely died like 2 to 3 times to try and make the hammer bro come to my side, so I could try it and see. And of course, he wouldn't cooperate. So I said, screw it. I'll just do Atlantis. And in the end, it was just a mushroom anyway. But yeah, still. That was
A couple of diabolical World 5s for sure. It seemed like World 4 on the second seed was very diabolical as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically had to 100% the entire thing. Like, what was up with that?
Yeah, that was a long one too. Like, one thing too that is actually rather consistent with both of these seeds is that 1, we finished with World 1 airship, and 2, World 7 we start with World 7, and both of them were pretty quick. Like, both World 7s were really, really quick. That's interesting.
That was definitely a surprise as well. In the second one, we were only 2 worlds separate. Like, we had 2 pairs that were backwards of it being an entire backwards seed. It was 7, 6, 5, 3, 4, 1, 2. So thought that was a little interesting, but
yeah. World 3 of I think it was seed 2, I think. Yeah. I was not lucky on that World 3. Hoping that like one of those pipes on the right side would just take me to the end, but no, it was the other pipe all the way at the near-ish start. So I had to work my way back, and I think I did a few extra levels there because of that.
I'm not sure if it makes you feel any better or not, but you're not the only one that did that. In fact, the only one that did not take the extra pipes and the extra route in World 3 was Leslie Pro, who is currently on World 8 now with the second seed. He had a little bit of an issue on the first seed. He took a death on Bowser's Castle, but he'll be finishing off here in just a couple minutes. But what's interesting is that with Leslie Pro, he ended up going on that left side of World 3, but it was still a game changer. As Krista Joy mentions in the chat, that you and Human Mustard were the only 2 that opted to take a hammer to the lock in front of Wendy, which actually ended up being a huge payoff because you 2 were back in the lead at that point.
God dang. But no, that was a lot of interesting stuff, and I can't wait to look at the restream. But though, hey, sorry that I'm gonna have to leave a little early. I got another engagement right after this, and I don't want to keep them waiting. So on that note, I'm gonna leave it off right here, and thank you very much for the race. This was a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next one.
Very well played once again. We, of course, always appreciate the interview, get a little bit of an insight that's a little bit different from the runner's perspective. I get to see everything that's happening at the same time, but I think the enjoyment and the surprise at the end where you figure out it's a 30-second difference is always well worth it. So thank you again for your time. Thank you for the run, and GG's.
All right. Take care, everybody. Take care.
A very successful run for Midi Guy DP. Of course, being just 30 seconds behind after a double seed is absolutely fantastic. What a wonderful, wonderful back-to-back race. We're going to get a little bit of a different run here from Iduba. He's going to be working on any percent warpless, so he's not actually starting another randomizer seed. If so, it's the worst or the best randomizer seed ever, as he is going to be playing through the game on warpless, so hopefully you'll enjoy that just a little bit while we're working on getting through World 8 with Leslie Pro, and of course we'll be going for an interview with him after this and get some of his thoughts on this game. Taking on the Boom Boom, which of course is at the end of every fortress for the most part, and the only difference of course would be if if the tanks or the airship has shown up, there's a possibility of Boomerang Brothers, but of course they will have a fortress icon. It'll just be a regular bubble, and they will still be united. Leslie Pro now on his way to Bowser's Castle. Going to go ahead and use a tune changer to lighten up the mood before he goes in and takes on Bowser and his keep. He is going to be utilizing the Hammer Brother for a quick exit of the Bowser fight. Hopefully he will get that. Hopefully we get a clip here to finish this off. Doing his best to avoid the orbs here. I always have to be just a little bit cautious since I've taken damage here. Sometimes those orbs like to go a little rogue on you. Of course, we'll get this clip ease and going through the lava world, or lava room very quickly. He decides to not go for the flip. He will go through the firewalls, and that should take us to the end here in just a moment. And that is going to be a hammer fight with Bowser. He'll be entering the fight here, or into the door with Peach here in just a moment. That is going to spell the end of our double header. That is going to be the end of both seats. It was a Group 2 flag set with end cards turned off. No extra items, no extra games. We are just going to get through here as quickly as possible. Princess Peach has been saved twice for a grand total of 8 times on screen. If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what would. But at this point, we have finished the race for our runner, and he is going to hopefully be joining us here in just a moment. Get your GGs out, of course, for Leslie Pro, as he had a great run as well. 2 seeds in an hour and a half. Still nothing to balk at. What a wonderful race by all of our runners. It looks like he's going to be joining us here in the commentator's booth in just the next couple of seconds. So we will welcome him here in just a moment. Please stand by. There are technical difficulties, as always. And it is not always as picture perfect as you'd like to hope, but we'll get him in here in just a moment. He is in the waiting channel, so he'll be in just moments as we see Ivuva currently working on his way through Airship 1. And here we are. Leslie Pro, congratulations on a wonderful race. Well done. GG's.
Thanks. I don't know where to begin with that. The way the first seed ended or the way that second seed began. Because that Bowser pattern at the end of the first seed, I had never seen that before. So basically, I got played on that one. And then the second seed, I just fell into a bit of a death trap that anybody can fall into, and I could feel myself starting to tilt a bit, so I had to bring myself back. But I did. A choice between 5-9 or Atlantis. Game? Come on.
You are not wrong. Midi Guy was just saying that exact same thing. He said, "What was that about?" And fortunately for me, he didn't point any fingers as I was the one that rolled him. But yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Would you like an auto scroller or an auto scroller? The one thing that I would like to point out on World 3, I believe on the second seed, all 3 of the other runners had opted to go for the second part of the world, and we were watching expectantly as you did the exact same thing. You went to the right side of the world. I fully expected you to go ahead and start playing that over there, but you actually turned around and you ended up going the right route, which was the only one of that. So kudos to you for making a good call there. That was well played. Anything going through your mind on that? Anything that was going through your head to make that path?
I figured at that point it was just, well, that just looked disgusting, so let's go back the other way, really.
Nothing wrong with that at all. That was a very well played strategy at that point. The fact that there was 3 fortresses in that World 3 was definitely a little bit on the scary side, but good call. I mean, definitely good call. You were able to save some time there and really started coming back at that point. So, GG on.
Thanks. I just wish the rest of the seed had been that second seed had been just a little bit friendlier, because that was, like I said, that was a rough one, and that was actually my first couple of seeds played since the last seed I played, which was 3 weeks ago. So yeah, also a bit of rust there, but oh well, it could have been worse. I will say that much.
Always. I don't envy you at all. I've been there. I've done that. I had a tilting seed last week, so I totally get where you're coming from. I hear you loud and clear. Sometimes it just gets the better of us, and it is what it is. But a great show nonetheless. I mean, you really pulled it together in that second seed and made some really good choices. So kudos on that.
Certainly, and it also helped at the end to actually get the hammer kill on Bowser. And I realized after I went in the door, it's like, wait, what am I doing? Why did I not try to clip? But it turned out to be fine. So I think the game threw me a bone on that one.
After the 2 seeds you guys had to go through, it is perfectly acceptable. Thankfully, the game does have just a little bit of mercy occasionally.
Yep, sometimes the game can be merciful, but when it can't, oh boy, look out.
That is very well put. Any other final closing thoughts before we go ahead and close up this stream?
Hey, just GG's. Thanks for the restream. Be sure to follow the runners. Now, it also, oddly enough, the bot doesn't mention human mustard, which does not make sense, but also worth giving him a follow. And also feel free to follow the commentator as well, as he also plays Mario 3 Rando.
I do appreciate that. I like to think that I play. If you're looking for good quality content, definitely follow our runners. If you're looking for maybe something a little bit more humorous, maybe follow me, I guess. I don't know. But no, it's a good time. We do love this game. We love the community. We love putting on a wonderful, wonderful stream for you guys every week. I know I've said it before, and I know the runners will iterate it as well. We definitely love putting this on for you all, and hopefully you enjoy that as well.
All right, I certainly will definitely chat, because two seeds back to back. The thing that I should really keep in mind is that it's a bit more of a marathon and not the usual sprint that a rando seed tends to be. So, well, I'll keep that in mind, and I will take it going forward, and for next week, that's for sure.
That sounds like a plan. On behalf of the entire SMB3 randomizer community, on behalf of the runners and the commentation tonight, as well as Speed Gaming, we certainly appreciate you all tuning in tonight. We do appreciate all the love and the support that you guys give us week in and week out, being responsive in chat and everything else. So thank you so much for that. From the Mushroom Kingdom, this has been Ibuba, Midi Guy DP, Leslie Pro, Human Mustard, and of course me, Growlwolf, on the air. We do appreciate you all tuning in, and we will see you next week. Take it easy.